Number 12, the discussion related to UDC zoning requests for modification to its campus plan. We're going to move discussion on that to our September meeting. There's some moving parts in there, so we're hoping to just get everybody on the same page, and we'll go in that in depth at our September meeting. Let's see, we have a second settlement agreement that we're going to put as item number 11. It's Denoy Hospitality at 5014 Connecticut Avenue. That'll be item 11, which will push the public space application discussion for 4214 Lenore to item number 12. Item 13, we're going to add another public space application, do those public space discussions back to back. This will be for 4101 Connecticut, relating to new signage at Burke School. We're going to add an item number 14 for the Q2 financial report approval, and discuss that. We're going to give that 5 minutes. Besides that, let me just backtrack. We're going to give 4101 Connecticut public space hearing 10 minutes, and the same 10 minutes for the settlement agreement at the Denoy Hospitality. After item 14, the discussion of the financial report approval, we're going to move on to item 15, which will be the resolution on Washingtonia's collection temporary move to 4340 Connecticut. We're going to give that 5 minutes for discussion. We had a lengthy discussion about that last time, so this will just be sort of tying that up. And then item 16 will be our resolution on WMATA's proposed changes to L1 and L2 bus lines. We're going to give that 10 minutes of discussion. We've received a bit of feedback, and we want to make sure we give everybody a chance to discuss that going on. From there, we're going to move. Other business becomes item 17, at which point we'll go through the financial report. And then item 18 will adjourn.
And 17 is June minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, 17 is the June minutes.
That's not another business.
18, well, it's separate on the agenda.
I'm sorry? So I have 16 for June minutes, 17 for business, and 18 for adjournment?
No.
17 for June minutes.
Okay.
18 for other business, 19 for adjournment.
19 for adjournment. Okay. Are there any other
Notes.
changes
So
or
11
suggestions to the
is
agenda?
Illinois. 12 is
It's
this.
gone, right?
13 is 4101. 14 is Q2 report. 15 is Washingtonia.
Got it,
16 is WMATA.
got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any changes besides those?
No.
Okay. All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I second.
Second from Commissioner Siddig. All in favor? All opposed? It passes 4-0. Commissioner Siddig, will you start us off with the roll call, please?
I'm Bill Siddig, Commissioner for 3F06.
Pat Chakopchik, the Commissioner for 3F07 and the Chair of ANC3F.
Shirley Adelstein, 3F02, and the treasurer.
Andrea Molide, 3F05, Commission Secretary.
Great. Commissioners Dickinson and Rutenberg are absent today. Commissioner Dickinson has a case of the flu, so we wish him well. Bill, do you have any announcements?
No, I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. I have 3 announcements I'm going to make. The first is to congratulate and inform the community about Burke's 50th anniversary celebration on Friday, September 7th at 6 p.m. They've shared the info with their surrounding neighbors. One thing we should all be aware of.
What's the date, Pat? I'm sorry.
September 7th, Friday, September 7th at 6 p.m. This is before our next meeting. We do not have an August meeting, so I'll see everybody back here in September to discuss any outstanding issues. But that's why I'm making this announcement now. This will occur before we come back here again. The big thing to know for the community at large is that Upton, from basically 2926 to 2951 will be closed that day to traffic from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. They've submitted a traffic control plan with the city, and they've let the near neighbors know about it. There are some, if people do have issues, I think they've provided some emergency contacts. But the community at large, if you don't live there, just be aware that sort of eastbound access onto Upton will be difficult, nearly impossible that day. I'm sorry? Can you repeat the borders? The borders, it'll be from Connecticut to 29th Street on Upton. Number 2, on July 25th at 6:30 p.m. The public is invited to a community meeting for the Forest Hills Playground. We'll be joined there from representatives from the government and the local community to identify potential projects and opportunities for cleanup. Everyone is invited to join us there and see everything that's been going on with that Forest Park Playground.
Hi,
And-
the
Mhm.
location of the meeting?
It's at Forest Park Playground. July 25th at 6:30 p.m. And the final thing is the ANC3F 04 vacancy, in which the Forest Hills Playground is located. We have had interest from two parties about serving as a temporary non-voting commissioner to act as a liaison for the community. We should have an announcement to make sometime next week about that, and hopefully we'll have somebody serving in that seat before too long. Ideally, it would be before the playground meeting next week, and we can hopefully have a nice bevy of candidates who run for the seat in November.
Will that be made public on your website?
Yeah, we'll make it public on the website, and we'll send out an email announcement to all the listservs and things like that. Probably ask the Forest Hills Connection to write about it as well. So.
And no announcements.
Nothing for me.
Okay. Moving on, committee reports.
Okay, I'm Bob Dealing. I'm the chair of the ANC3F Streets and Sidewalks Committee. I'm going to give the members a report that I sent around yesterday by email, but just so you have a paper copy. It's a one-page report. As I've mentioned at other meetings, we have put in approximately 250 DC 311 requests into the system about sidewalks, streets, and other issues in the ANC. I would say at this point they have addressed approximately 1/3 of them, and we're working to try to get DDOT to help us track what's going on with the other 2/3. There have been some sidewalk repairs, not as many as maybe there ought to be, but they're definitely repairing some sidewalks, so that's good news. The other aspects of the committee work that I can report, we are not meeting in, well, we did not meet in July. We will meet in September instead, and in the spring we met twice. There was a resolution about a proposal for a study on Connecticut Avenue traffic issues, which the ANC then turned into a resolution. The Cleveland Park ANC also passed a similar resolution, which is another aspect of our committee work. We've been looking to get the ANCs up and down the avenue looking into that issue. So that's my report for now. Any questions? Yes?
I'm very interested to hear what you've said. Would you be able to tell us whether Van Ness Street has been contracted for and there's a problem attached to it that...
I don't know anything about that. I think you're talking about the bricks along Van Ness Street?
No.
Oh.
Between Reno Road and 37th Street, the 3600 block of Van Ness Street.
Mhm.
I was told when I raised questions about this over a month ago
Mm-hmm.
by the people who were coming by marking the utilities
Mhm.
for water and Verizon,
Mm-hmm.
that the contract was to redo the Van Ness sidewalks, which really, with the exception of a couple of blocks, don't need redoing.
Mm-hmm.
So I pursued it and was subsequently told that no, it's just to put in ADA compliant ramps at the intersection of Van Ness and Reno. Subsequent
Mhm.
investigation makes it curious as to why that should be anything but a waste of taxpayer money, because we already have ADA compliant ramps complete with little bumps. 2 days ago, our entire street, 40 parking places, was tagged for no parking by Fort Meyer Construction, one of the more notorious DC contractors. It started today. Of course, no one showed up. And I was told that the intersection ramp project would last 1 day. So for 10 days, we are looking at no parking on that entire block. And I sent a note to David. We have written Mary
I don't think I can.
Tax money being
I think you've done what you can do.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
You've done what I would recommend. I mean, you've called the people I would recommend, but if the commissioners have ideas.
This is the first time hearing of it. I can loop in with David. I think we'll call to DDOT is in order and figure out what's
If
going
you would,
Yeah.
he has the information in the form of an email,
Mhm.
and I told him that I didn't know at the time that he had the flu. He wrote me back and said, sorry, he wasn't going to be here, which was disappointing, but I appreciate your allowing me to raise the question and flag the issue because we're absolutely flummoxed.
Yes.
One, why are things being replaced that don't need to be replaced? And two, why is it going to take 10 days with no parking on the street when many of our residents only have street parking?
Yeah. Yeah, that's,
And it was done by Fort Myers.
Mhm.
I called Fort Myers repeatedly. They have not returned my calls. They won't
Okay.
give me a responsible person to talk to. I left a message in the legal department, but they have acted in kind.
and it started today?
The prohibition started today.
Okay, and it's for the
no
next
one
10
showed
days.
up, of course. As I do, at least they wouldn't.
And I'm pretty sure it runs through the 29th.
It runs to the 28th of July, yeah. I took one of the signs in to try to find a telephone number or somebody responsible, and the only information was Fort Myer. I had previously spoken with the agency that was doing the utility marking, and they were very helpful.
Mhm.
And they were the ones who gave me the information about the contract, but I hadn't been able to locate anybody in Utah.
We can work that with each other as well. And my guess would be that they may not have considered the construction today or started because of the rain.
Possibly.
So that may be an offset as to why.
But it's mysterious. If they're going to, I mean, of course, we understand if they need parking places, but why do they need 40 places for 10 days?
And we can help you with that.
And precisely what is going on? What are they doing? Are they replacing perfectly good sidewalk? Are they replacing perfectly aligned ADA ramps?
Sure.
Why?
So we'll reach out and try to get answers to all these. I'm most curious why a one-day job needs 10 days worth of parking restrictions, and then we can kind of go
Well,
from there.
that was simply what I was told the
Mhm.
contract was for. They said, oh, no, don't worry, this is just one day, it's just gonna be at the intersection.
Mhm.
And I said, well, is it gonna be anyplace else on the sidewalks? And they said, well, any block that, any block of sidewalk that
Yeah.
is broken, and there is one.
Okay.
One of our neighbors, has it in front of her house, but the entire
Okay.
block, no.
So let me you have his card. Why don't you get mine before you leave as well?
Yeah.
We'll start an email chain, and then hopefully we'll get a response from Pepco
Appreciate it
tomorrow,
very
okay?
much. Thank you. The 3600 block of Van Ness Street, between Reno Road and 37.
It's good. Put that right there.
Thank you very much,
So-
I
so
appreciate
it's
it.
commitment to-
And Mary Chase should have, Nicholas in Mary Chase's office should have a.
Thank you, Chair.
We'll
Okay.
respond to that.
Yeah.
Do we have an update from the Grants Committee?
Nothing new with
Okay.
grants.
Nothing new to report from the Parks and Trails
Oh,
Committee.
September, I'm not thinking.
So our grant cycle, our next grant cycle is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now accepting grants twice a year. So we'll be accepting applications in September and then discussing them in September and voting them the next month. So if you are interested in pursuing a grant, you can speak with one of us or check out our website. It has a grants page that has all of the information, but you'll want to go ahead and get started on that before the September meeting so that we have it in time to review and give you feedback. before
Yeah,
the
it's
meeting.
best, if somebody's interested in sending an application, it's best to get it to us before September so that it's in order by September.
Great. The Melvin Hazen, Soapstone, and Broad Branch Parks and Trails Committee did not meet this month. I'm not sure whether or not it's scheduled to meet in August.
No, I don't think
I don't
so.
believe
September.
Yeah, so it'll have its next meeting in September. If people are interested in that, please reach out to us at info@anc3f.com. Okay, now I'm going to open up this microphone down here to the community forum. Please keep your comments as specific and short as you can. I have 7:49 on my watch, and we're going to open this up for 20 minutes. So please come on down.
I guess I'll start. I'll just give a quick few updates. My name is Russell Rowe, Mayor Bowser's Ward 3 liaison.
Russell, could you talk into the microphone?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I'm gonna push this
Can you
loud.
tell us how to spell your last name?
ROWE. Again, my name is Russell. I'm Mayor Bowser's Ward 3 liaison. I'm sure you're familiar with Ian Maggard. He's out of town, so I'm just pitching in for him today. So just a few recent news and some upcoming events. So Mayor Bowser yesterday broke ground on 80 affordable apartments for seniors yesterday at Walter Reed. They are the Abrams Hall Senior Apartments at the Parks at Walter Reed, which produced 64 apartments targeting seniors at or below 50% of the median family income, and 16 permanent supportive housing units for seniors at or below 30% the median family income. So again, pumping more affordable housing into the pipeline. Also, her 42-month progress report is released. You can find it at mayor.dc.gov/progress report. Again, this is her accountability report to show the progress that we have all made, residents, ANC commissioners, and government have made in reaching her initiatives and that she set forth in her first term. Some of the highlights would be decreases in unemployment in Ward 7 by 30% and in Ward 8 by 28%. Decrease in citywide violent crime year to date by 27% between 2014 and 2018, which would be her first term, and $94 million increase in funding for public schools in the school year 2018-2019. Lastly, I would like to let you guys know some events that are coming up in the community. There's a disaster preparedness kickoff tomorrow at Cleveland Park Library. I have information on that here. It'll be between 6 and 8 p.m. tomorrow. This is really geared for our elderly and our seniors to learn how to plan and prepare for emergency events shall they occur. So please push everybody there and come yourself. The next thing will be the DCPS policy feedback forum. This will be on Thursday, July 19th. So it'll be your opportunity to engage with DCPS leaders and ask them questions on some new policies and procedures, as well as just to hear from them as to maybe what they may have been thinking.
Where is that?
That is going to be, where is this? So between 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m., it'll be at Cardozo Education Campus, which is 1200 Clifton Street Northwest. And between 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., it'll be at the Ron Brown College Preparatory High School, 4800 Meade Street Northeast. And I have these for anybody who's interested in going. So it looks like there's going to be 2 different sessions, but they'll both be on Thursday. And last but not least, the Palisades Recreation Center, we cut the ribbon on it not too long ago. If you have not been, here's a reason to go. So next Wednesday we'll have the DC Office on Aging and some community partners like HCMA, Office of the People's Council, Seabury Connector, Legal Counsel for the Elderly, and they're also serving lunch. And this will be for our seniors. They've done these events at the Chevy Chase Community Center, Global Park. So I'm familiar with the Cleveland Woodley Park Village. I know they're more virtual, but if you know any seniors who are interested in going or may need transportation, or just trying to figure out how to get there and see the new recreation center, engage with these agencies, also please let me know. Thank you. Russell, I do have a question.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know how much you came prepared to talk about it. It's a citywide thing. So Initiative 77 was
Yep.
passed by the voters
Yep.
during the primary. There's been a move on the city council to sort of overturn that decision by the voters. Could you give us a little bit of insight into where the mayor stands on that? And what she's thinking?
So prior to the mayor was against it, and I was told that she is her position has not changed.
Okay.
So the mayor position that she's against it or that she opposes Initiative 77 has not changed.
Okay. So the attempt to sort of override the will of the voters, is that something she supports, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Cool.
All right.
All
I
right.
don't mean to put you on the hot seat.
No worries.
All right.
All right.
But she's also here waiting to hear what the council's going to say. What the council
Mhm.
So she's right now on the council side.
Okay.
So she has not, even though she's opposed of it,
Mm-hmm.
she is waiting to see what the council's going to do. So it's on the council first.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nope, all that, as we discussed at the beginning, has been moved to the end of the agenda. We've moved it off our consent agenda, so we'll have a chance to discuss it.
I'm gonna go watch the ball game. Bill, did you read my email? I'm not gonna stick around all night there.
Thanks, Adrian.
Bill, you read my email to everybody.
I will.
Hello, Commissioners. Juanita Gray, the University of the District of Columbia. So I'll start with 4225, the old Walgreens building. City Council has approved our request for that building. So we have taken possession. It's a 25-year lease or 25-year contract that the university has for that space. Right now it will be swing space. If that changes, we'll definitely be sure to bring that to the ANC before we make any final changes or moves. Landscaping, I made sure that, because I walk by there every day, so Eric Thompson, who is in the back, has his landscaping team on it, and they'll be working on it in the next few days. The law library has moved out of Building 39 and is currently being housed down at the law school, which makes logistically more sense. The library in Building 41 will go into that space that the law school has recently vacated, and that's in preparations for shutting down Building 41 completely for all the renovation projects that need to happen. The students will move back on August 13th, which is a Monday. There's 88 students moving into 3003 and 50 students moving into Ava Van Ness. And then lastly, the Van Ness Neighborhood Social is tentatively scheduled for Saturday, August 18th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That may change. I'll make sure to update the commissioners if that does change. Any questions?
When do you envision moving into the Walgreens space?
Not for a couple of months. We have to decide exactly who's going to go over there, how we want to transition that space. So I'm thinking, and what I've been told actually, is either towards the end of the year or the beginning of next year.
Okay. Commissioners? Anybody in the audience? Okay. Juanita, thank you.
Juanita, if you could send me an email, please, with this information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Any other community announcements? Okay, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's a discussion and resolution to DDOT regarding traffic and parking relief related to the upcoming Pepco Exelon project near Van Ness in Wisconsin. I have 7:56. We have 5 minutes to discuss this. In large part because we discussed it at length last month, and we met with Pepco also in the intervening times to discuss things that we could be helpful in terms of alleviating some of the traffic concerns in the neighborhood, especially things that are coming up. So Commissioner Dickinson, who's out sick tonight, has prepared a resolution. I know he's worked with a few of the residents in the neighborhood. I'm going to just go through this and read the operative clauses to specifically go over what we're recommending that DDOT does. And there's 7 specific points, and then we'll open it up for discussion and then move everything to a vote from there. So, therefore, be it resolved that ANC3F recommends that Pepco work with DDOT to develop and distribute to ANC3F and affected Van Ness residents traffic control plans to ensure proper flagging and signage. 2, recommends that Pepco immediately contact all residents of the 3600 block of Van Ness Street and notify ANC3F should the work schedule noted above be altered in any significant way. 3, recommends that DDOT immediately cover and render inoperative the parking meters on the east side of 36th Street, 36th Street Northwest, between Reno and Yuma. 4, recommends that Pepco coordinate with WMATA in order to develop contingency plans for bus routes on Van Ness Street, and that such coordination include coordination and notification with ANC3F. 5, recommends that Pepco inform and require its contractors to work with residents on the block regarding deliveries, parking, access to their homes, or any special needs. I'm going to go and offer a friendly amendment to just strike the will inform and will require and just say recommends that Pepco inform and require. 6, recommends that Pepco and DDOT develop a plan for access by residents whose houses do not provide parking or immediate access for temporary drop-offs by residents when needed for supplies, groceries, or other deliverables.
Is there, I didn't see a 6 in the one that was circulated.
Okay. He might have provided this. Let me email it to you as well. But 7, recommends that Pepco protect trees in the median strip in front of houses affected by street work by wrapping them in protective barriers to prevent damage. Be it further resolved that Commissioners Dickinson and Jakopczyk are authorized to speak on behalf of ANC3F regarding this matter. So, in talking with Commissioner Dickinson, we understand this is a big project. We want the neighborhood to, especially the people who live there, to be protected and as inconvenienced as little as possible. We live in a city. I think inconvenience is, part of our life, but I think these are 7, solid steps towards making things better. So.
We've all looked at it.
Okay.
I mean, I circulated that 45 people on my email list,
Mhm.
and they're all happy with it. And we understand that, where there really might be some weather or something that would interfere with it, but they are doing their best to keep us up to date on what's going on. And we really are encouraging them to go with that September 4th window, and then they go
Mhm.
October window. And it seems to me that everybody finds this is the best we can do.
Yeah, I know there was some discussion about the exact start and stop dates and things like that. The vagaries of weather and what it does with construction. I know Pepco will do their best to stick to the schedule that they've announced.
It's not a giant loophole.
Mhm.
They want to take advantage of it.
Yes.
And they say, other things may intervene, and it's not just weather. We would understand weather, but they say, other unexpected needs.
Mhm.
That means if there's a leak in southeast that pulls the screw off,
Yes.
we have to wait. But as far as we can tell, as far ahead, they're intent on doing it on September 4th.
Mhm.
We're comfortable with that. We're planning. Everybody's planning around it.
Okay. We're intending to take them at their word for that. It should arise that we need to follow up with another resolution later on. We can definitely do so.
I think we should just acknowledge and express appreciation for the very constructive role that both Pepco and the ANC has taken on this, and we're very comforted by the support. Thank you.
Our pleasure, and then I want to echo your thoughts about Pepco Exelon. It was good of them to come out at our last week's meeting. I sat down with a representative of them myself to talk about this issue and a few other things going on in our district. We've asked them for increased and more frequent communication, and hopefully we'll have a very a continuing constructive relationship going forward.
I would like to propose another
Okay.
recommendation and see what the community thinks about it. I'd like to see Pepco work with DDOT to ensure that the road is repaired when the project is completed. And especially if they're going to have those metal plates on the road, there's nothing more annoying to hear the traffic go over that at midnight. So that, I think that's something they usually build into their plan, but I'd like it to be specific that we don't have to wait 3 months before they repair the road.
It's not clear to me whether you're talking about a repair that's an interim repair, so we wouldn't have those metal plates banging all night long, or whether you're talking about end of completion of the project. Can you clarify that? I mean, I assume they're gonna.
If there's some way of doing that during the project, that would be great, but I was thinking more about the end of the project, just to make sure that everything goes back to the way it was beforehand, as soon as practicable after the,
We like that.
okay, thank you. So if the commission agrees, I propose that we add that.
So could you give me the exact word, Annie? Is it something like that recommends that Pepco work with DDOT to provide permanent reconstruction of the street?
As soon as possible after the project is completed.
Pat, who is this resolution to? Who are we sending this resolution?
DDOT.
This is a resolution to DDOT,
WMATA.
but it depends on actions that Pepco Exelon folks are gonna take.
This is sort of what we're asking DDOT them to take specific actions while WMATA is taking actions within there. This is a Pepco is taking. This is a Pepco Exelon project in the neighborhood. They're working with DDOT to construct a traffic control plan. They've asked us for our input on items that they can send to DDOT and say, hey, we would like this, added in there. I know we're also sending things to WMATA because of the bus that goes down the Van Ness and things like that. So these are just items because Pepco themselves cannot provide traffic relief. So we're asking DDOT to take into account work being done in the neighborhood. Okay. So I'm going to read off Commissioner Siddig's. I'm also going to accept it as a friendly amendment, but recommends that PEPCO work with DDOT to provide for the permanent reconstruction of the street as soon as possible after the completion of the project.
Sounds good.
Okay, so work for you guys? Okay. Any other items? Amendments? Good. Any other comments from the community? Okay, I'm going to make a motion to pass this resolution as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Siddick. All in favor? All opposed? It passes unanimously, 4-0. Thank you. So, moving on, I'm gonna invite up Merrick to go and give us a update on his work in the Broad Branch daylighting project.
Yep.
So I'm gonna load this up. If you want to just give everybody an overview as this is sort of warming up, it's
Alright,
gonna
great.
just take 1 second.
Hi, my name's Merrick. I'm an intern with the Rock Creek Conservancy.
Hi, can I ask us, what's your last name?
Salansky.
Can you spell it?
S-A-L-A.
Merrick?
Yeah, M-A-R-E-K. Salansky. S-A-L-A-N-S-K-I. Wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity to let me share a little bit about the work being done here in the community and give you guys an update on the project. Rock Creek Conservancy is involved in a number of different restoration and conservation projects throughout the Rock Creek watershed. But this summer I've been able to focus specifically on this one site here by Broad Branch. I'm sure many of you are already pretty familiar with this area and the project, but for those who aren't, I'll give a brief overview.
Just 1 second.
Merrick Salansky, that's M-A-R-E-K. S-A-L-A-N-S-K-I.
Is that my neighborhood?
Well, this restoration project is a daylighting project in the area along the intersection of Broad Branch and Linnaean. Got some pictures that we'll bring up in just a second, but here we go. See, is that the first slide?
No, I will go back.
Okay,
Sorry.
thanks.
Exit.
But basically, this whole area used to be just completely grassland, but now there's a wide variety. All right, here we go. There's a wide variety of vegetation, and could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. All right, this is a picture of the current site. This whole area used to basically just be grassland. This presented a problem because all the stormwater runoff from the surrounding neighborhoods would basically flow just right into this one spot, straight into the stream. Now with all of this vegetation, that stormwater is converted to groundwater, which basically filters out a lot of the pollutants before it reaches the stream. And those are, what it looks like now. Just for a quick background, this project started in the spring of 2016 when the District Department of Energy and the Environment awarded a grant to the Forest Hills Neighborhood Alliance in partnership with Rock Creek Conservancy and Casey Trees. And the planting started in November of 2016, where over 100 volunteers planted 125 trees and close to 50 shrubs at the Broad Branch site. And then in April 2017, an additional 2,000 shrubs, grasses, and perennials were planted in Broad Branch. And then finally in December 2017, there was another planting site along Linnaean. And here you can see some more pictures taken early this summer. So all of the planting has taken place, but the project is definitely not finished yet. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and that's where I come in. That's what I've been focusing on this summer. Been working on watering the newly planted trees, removing invasives from the area, and other general maintenance work. I'd say at this stage in the restoration project, watering is by far the most important thing, and what I spend most of my time doing. With these high summer temperatures, young trees can need as much as 25 gallons of water a week, so I'm out there a lot. As you can see from the picture, I've got doing things the old-fashioned way. I've got a bunch of buckets that I collect water from the stream and then take them out to the trees and water them one by one. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some more rain in the forecast soon. The next big part of the project that I've been working on is removing invasive species from the area. Invasives by nature tend to grow and spread rapidly and overtake the native plants. So that's why I've been focusing on removing the invasives around the newly planted trees, as you can see in this before and after picture. Also, I'm not sure if you guys can see from the picture, but if you're ever by that area and you're wondering what the cages around the trees are, those are to protect them from deer. And you do see a lot of deer in that area. And then last thing I've been working on is just general maintenance work. This ranges from collecting trash, clearing the trails, and putting up dog bag stations. I think all this work is really important because along with improving the water quality and creating a natural habitat, the main goal of this project is to create a nice community space for everyone in the neighborhood to enjoy. And that's what we're aiming for. And then finally, the next steps for the projects. We're hoping to get some volunteer groups out here to maybe help remove some of the invasives. Japanese stiltgrass is the most prevalent invasive on the site right now, and I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with it, but there's actually a native grass that looks very similar to it, unfortunately. I found the best way to tell is when you go to pull up the grass, if it comes up really easily, then that means it's probably stiltgrass, because it has a really weak root system. And I was actually out there with somebody from the National Park Service the other day, and we spotted a young patch of knotweed growing along the south side of Broad Branch. So that is now the #1 target for removing these invasives. Also, we've scheduled a meeting with some interns from the Audubon Naturalist Society, and they do a lot of macroinvertebrate surveys. So they're going to do one here at this site. Hopefully we'll also get a group out there to test the water qualities to see if things are improving. And those are all things I'd love to, correspond a way where I can share the results to you guys as we find them later in the summer.
Yeah. So that'd be great. Do you have any more slides? Or
no, that's about
Okay.
it for me, and I'd love to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Sure. We really appreciate the update. It's really nice to see. This is also part of partly covered by a grant that ANC3F passed earlier this year. So we're excited to see the fruition of that work. We're going to put this presentation up on our website if that's okay with you.
Yeah, awesome.
And then what I'd like to do is also, I know you've been in contact with Commissioner Ruttenberg a bit. I think filtering some of the updates and coordination through that committee of ours, that's specifically dealing with the daylighting area and the other parks and trails within our district would be great. And if you're open to, perhaps, giving those members just an overview of what you've been doing at our meeting in September, I think that'd be excellent.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And I thank you guys for the continued support, which allows us to do this kind of work.
Definitely. Commissioner Milad, did you have something?
Yeah, the volunteer events.
There's nothing scheduled on the horizon yet, but I know Rock Creek Conservancy hosts volunteer events on their website, so you should.
I'm Jeannie Brahma, the Executive Director of Rock Creek Conservancy, and would like to express my appreciation to the ANC for your investment in this amazing place, and also for the residents of that community that really helped spark the daylighting of Broad Branch, which is an amazing opportunity for habitat restoration. Merrick, we're very fortunate to have Merrick with us this summer, and we're grateful for all the work he's doing, and I will make sure to communicate with Commissioner Reuter all of the efforts and opportunities for residents after Merrick heads back to grad school.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for your comments and thanks for your partnership with that, too. Please.
Yeah, I try to get out there really early in the morning.
The other thing is kudzu. Is kudzu up in that area? I think it's a major problem along the length of Parkway. Pretty soon it's all going to be covered with horses.
Yeah, it is definitely starting to make slowly starting to make its way into DC, but there's none on this site, I can happily say, yet. So, but that definitely is something we're monitoring.
Distribution, and I can.
Major sections, especially further south. It's all over kudzu.
Yeah,
It's vine
Yes,
that
it
grows.
spreads pretty rapidly. Yeah.
thousands of volunteers each year that help us with some of those vines, as well as the National Park Service does some basic plant management. Oh, there's a lot of work. We're lucky this site, because there was, I can make sure to send our website the volunteer.
You can also, if you want to give a shout out right now, too.
Sure, it's rockcreekconservancy.org. There's a button right at the top that says, get involved. Just pick volunteer from that drop-down. Yeah. And I think one of the things that's lovely about this site is that because there are plants that were put in after all the invasives were cleared, there was fewer invasive plants than we would have otherwise.
But that's also an issue we've been looking at other parts of the ANC. You know, near Soapstone by the Howard campus, there's a big patch of it there. So we have asked, you know, for updates on how the campus plan might be dealing with that in the future. We continue to keep an eye on it, but it is quite a strong weed. So yeah. So, anything else from Eric? All right, Merrick, I just want to express our thanks again as a
Thank you very much.
commission. We appreciate all your hard work. So,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Awesome. Okay, now we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda dealing with the merch cafeteria deliveries. I'm going to throw this to my colleague, Commissioner Siddick, to give it an introduction and just talk a little bit about the resolution he's offering up on that.
Yeah, as you probably all know, the renovations of the Merch School are near completion. The school itself is, I think, completed. It's a really nice facility, and there's still work being done on the playground area and some of the outside areas. But one of the important new features of the school is going to be an expanded, very modern cafeteria. And the school has come to us to ask for permission for deliveries from the General Services Administration to this cafeteria. And I've been working with Charlotte Boyer, who is here tonight, for the council for the commission to give its support or not give its support to the delivery of food and other supplies to the cafeteria. So we have prepared a resolution. I'll just briefly read the items in the resolution, and they are that the deliveries are going to be made in all cases no earlier than 7 a.m. and not after 1 p.m. on weekdays only. All delivery vehicles will use the curbside space provided for unloading, and in no cases shall the trucks be permitted to park in the middle of the street or otherwise inhibit traffic. And the street, sidewalk, and other areas adjacent to the delivery area will be kept clean, free of trash and debris at all times, and the frequency of deliveries will be limited to 7 per week and no more than 2 deliveries per day. This is related to, I believe these trucks are also delivering food and other supplies to Deal and Wilson, and they will be just coming to Merch as part of their rounds. It's been a pleasure working with Charlotte and the others on this, and I don't foresee, I have spoken with some of the neighbors. This is going to be on the corner of 36th Street and Davenport Street. And I've contacted some of the people on Davenport Street, and they don't have any problems with this, so we don't foresee any problems. So, Charlotte, did you want to come up and say anything, or answer any questions from the commissioners?
Could we get just a bit of an update on the timeline on where construction is with the school and everything along those lines?
Yeah, of course. So we received substantial completion earlier this week, so we have a certificate of occupancy. The site itself is still getting worked on, and there's several punch list items, public arts. There's a lot to do to make it actually a school, past it being a functioning building. So we're on track to open for the start of school. We don't really see any issues in our way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks. It'll be good, yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, just something quick. What is it that they can't do now by matter of whatever right or something like that? What is it that they need permission for?
Charlotte?
36th Street's a little more narrow than DDOT normally likes for loading and unloading, but we've proven to them that it's appropriate for the turn radius. There's no issue with the truck getting in and out, but because it's not typical to be on a slightly narrower street, they just want community support.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
And there'll be signage, I guess?
Yes, lots of signage.
Good questions from the community.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am with Western Deputy and Market Manager.
Mm-hmm.
And just a slight little correction to what Charlotte said, we have a permit now.
Okay.
So it's not yet, we're not anticipating it this week, but don't go out and say, hey, we got
Sorry.
to get that site to go and walk on the site.
Yeah, you definitely can't walk on site until it opens.
Yeah.
But
And even then, you should be invited.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
alright.
Please don't come to the site yet.
Okay, thanks for the
Sorry.
clarification. Is there a motion?
So I move that we approve the resolution to allow for the deliveries to Merch.
Is there a
Second?
Second. From Commissioner Alstein. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passed unanimously. Congratulations. And we can give you a signed copy before you leave. Yeah. Did you have, I think Rachel might have, is it up here? I might want to use your pen.
Is this one of the final copies? No, I don't know.
That's
no,
not.
this is not.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
So
Rachel- Rachel.
we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna throw it to you, Shirley, and we're gonna tee up the settlement agreement and discussion and resolution for PKB Enterprises at 4221 Connecticut. I've got 822, and we have this for 10 minutes.
Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. It's approval of a settlement agreement that we've entered into with PKB Enterprises. The owner, Kevin Brown, is here with us tonight. This is an internet-only retailer located at Domain across the street. The settlement agreement is virtually identical to the batch of online-only agreements that we approved last month, so really nothing new here, but we're grateful to have Kevin with us, and if you'd like to come up and introduce yourself and say a word about your business, we certainly welcome that. Yes, please.
Just say hi, my name's Kevin. Opening, like you said, an online wine business out of Domain. It's nothing new. I mean, we're just selling wine online to only to the District of Columbia. We're going to be doing same-day deliveries to any residents in DC. I think our lineup of wines are going to be rather unique. A third of them are going to be local wines from the DC area, from Virginia and Maryland. The other third, we're going to import wines from California. Mainly, there's some minority-owned wineries in California and some female-owned ones, which are greatly underrepresented in DC. We're going to be bringing those in to sell them in the area. I think those would do really well out here. And of course, your typical, European-style wines. that you're all used to drinking. And so, you know, feel free to check out my site. I have a business card, but I think you'll enjoy what I carry. I'm a very outgoing person. If you guys want to have a wine party in your district, let me know. I'll help you support it.
What is the website?
The website is www.theladypearly.com. Theladypearly.com.
PU?
Pearly.
What are we drinking tonight?
I just brought gin tonight, so. There's a card if you want.
Thank you.
In case you need correction. But yeah, it'd be great. I'm very happy to be in Van Ness. I love this area. And I will be moving in DC sometime. Maybe I'll move to Van Ness. But good to meet everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? I think we have one question for you.
So is there anything non-standard? This is
Nope.
exactly what we've been passing for everybody.
Minor modifications based on just email with Abra to get the language right, as sometimes happen, but
Mhm.
this is identical to what's been approved on final
On the other ones.
discussion.
Okay, cool. Are there any questions for either the applicant or the commissioner from the audience? Okay.
All right, in that case, I move that we approve this settlement agreement.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Brown, and welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad to be in the community.
So
Great.
just so you know, in terms of next steps, we'll sign this along, and I'll submit it to Abra and copy you. So you'll have a copy of the final version as well, and we'll take care of that ASAP so you can move forward. Thank you.
Okay, now moving on, we have our next item on the agenda. It's another settlement agreement. It's down the street at the old banana leaf space at 5014 Connecticut, and it's Denoy Hospitality. And I'm going to have Commissioner Siddig just kind of tee that up for us. I've got 826.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that we worked from the settle agreement that had been in place for Banana Leaf with some changes. They hope to open in September, and we have worked closely with the upcoming manager and the attorneys for the restaurant, and the draft agreement we have here that we would like to work from does have a few differences from the Banana Leaf settlement agreement, and the manager and the attorney are here tonight, and they'd be pleased to expound a little further and to answer any questions that the commission might have.
That'd be great.
So, welcome.
So
There's Carolyn Papetti is the manager,
Okay.
and Sedone Johannes
Okay.
is the attorney.
So why don't we get an overview of the agreement or an overview of the restaurant, whatever order you guys want to work out amongst yourselves, and then we'll just kind of go from it there.
Sure. Sidon Johannes. Just wanted to introduce myself and the Veritas Law Firm here on behalf of the applicant. This is a new restaurant, and we have been working with the commissioner for the last couple of weeks or so and trying to get some terms in for the settlement agreement. The settlement agreement does go over hours, interior hours and outside hours, public space, trash. I think we've come to an agreement upon, I would say, basically about everything in terms of substance. I think it's language that we may have tweaked and things that we thought would be best for the applicant and the ANC as well, trying to be on mutual terms. I will let Carolyn maybe talk a little bit about the restaurant or the menu, if you want to hear about that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So, Carolyn Papetti. So I'm one of the owners with my husband Massimo and our chef James. So there's three of us. We live in the district. Our kids go to Merch, so we're really excited about everything going on with Merch opening around the same time that, or a little before us. And my husband and our chef are going to be working there full time. I'm not actually going to be at the restaurant, so it's my husband and the chef. And it's Italian food. We're looking for, the name has not been determined yet. I know there was some speculation about this stuff with the similar restaurant names out of New York. The name of our business is Danoy Hospitality. The group in New York has the name patented, so we can't, or trademarked, I'm sorry, so we can't use that. We have not come up with our final name, which we should have in the next couple of weeks of the restaurant name itself. It's going to be similar price points, I would say, to Comet. It's going to be family friendly, place for the community, no tablecloths. It's supposed to be a fun place for family and friends and very approachable, and we'd like to be as involved in the community as possible, and of course with Murch Elementary.
Great. We're so glad that we
Yeah,
get
really
somebody in that
excited.
space so quickly.
Really excited.
You know. So we do have a few questions with it. I know
Sure.
we've gone over these a little bit more, and I think we'll just start at the beginning of the agreement and just kind of go through it, you know, one by one. My first question I had was about the occupancy load, and I know you're waiting on the info from DCRA to kind of go into that a little bit more. You had revised some of the numbers. I did notice that the outdoor cafe stayed at 40. Is that realistic for this area, or?
It's probably the maximum, I'd say. The restaurant next door, Jack's, has outdoor seating and has about, what, 10 or?
No, 38.
How
Well,
many?
they have 38 chairs.
38 chairs.
38 chairs on a regular
38
basis,
chairs.
what they're approved for.
And this space is larger.
Jake's out.
Oh, well, that's an issue that we need to deal with James.
So we
I
can't
don't know
use
what
that as a
com-
template for.
Yeah.
How many spaces does Comet have outside? Do you know?
I mean, they permanently have chairs on a regular basis. Comet seems to have about 40 chairs regularly, and Jake's
Yeah.
has about 38 chairs regularly, what they're permitted by.
This space is at least as large as Comet.
Because it's
It's
right in
larger
front of
than,
the building, it's a big, like, rectangle in front of the building.
And again, 40 would be what the maximum is. Whatever DDOT, would give us at the end of the day is what would be on our license and what we would be allowed to use. But 40 is sort of the max. We don't want a situation where DDOT gives us, let's say, 38, and we applied only for 30, and we got to come back and try and fix that. So, which is why we're requesting 40 at this time.
Understand. Okay.
And I think we would probably have to be back before you with a public space application, so you can prove that as well.
Sure. Okay. It was just kind of a big jump that stood out.
Sure,
The
understood.
existing 10 had been annually going up to 40. So I did see we revised the hours back to midnight. We appreciate you working with us on that. Could you tell us a little bit? We have some existing language, and I think you've kind of pushed back against putting duplicate language in here that would
Yes.
echo some of the things. Could you kind of tell us why? I think I understand it, that it would be sort of a double jeopardy situation for your client, but if you want to go into that a little bit.
I think that's the most important, is that we don't want a situation where an ABRA investigator will come out there, and not to say that we will be in violation, but we have to think about the future, and if there is a situation where the applicant would, let's say, be in violation of whatever the regulation is, for instance, having a ABC manager on the premises, they would be in violation of two different regulations or two different things, which would be one, the settlement agreement, and then two would be the actual what the code says. So that's two primary offenses, and those things add up, and it's not a situation that we would want, or I would advise the applicant to be in. We understand what the regulations are, and I think the licensee, or when she becomes licensed, will also understand, and it's and those things, whether they're in the agreement or not, we have to abide by. So I think it's a good idea to always have an agreement that's clear, because it's for the employees to follow at the end of the day. We want to be in compliance, but we don't want a situation that's, like you said, a double jeopardy, and we're in violation of two different things. I've seen issues cross spectrum continue to happen with different establishments, so that's what we're trying to prevent here. Not to say we're not going to be in violation, I just can't.
See, I think that's kind of our approach from it, of saying, it may be double jeopardy, but it's also something like a bridge we wouldn't need to cross, too, assuming that the applicant was just following the regulations, right?
But it could be anything, and I mean...
Well, it couldn't be anything. It could be these specific provisions.
Well,
right?
one of the provisions in here, I think, said that the applicant would be in compliance of the entire ABC code and the entire ABC regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime, that's the entire code.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one specific thing that's being mentioned.
Okay.
So I think that's important. We've gone through this agreement, and we're willing to, if there's specific things that are really important to the ANC, or that the ANC really wants in here, we can discuss that, and we're open to discuss that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want the entire something that's meant for information, like informative purposes, to then turn out to be a penalty against the applicant.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's a fair point. We'll come back to that then. Could you talk a little bit about?
This is what I thought. How come Class C and not CR? Why are we talking about a Class C license and not CR?
It's the same thing.
Is that the most recent one? Is that an extra copy that you give me?
It's a restaurant.
Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry. Did I not answer your question?
There are other Cs, right? There's a
yes,
C
tavern,
for tavern or
right?
something like
And
that.
I think that it's clear. It says. And we can. Okay, I'm sorry. We can say Class C restaurant license.
Yep.
That's correct. Got it.
That's all.
Okay. Sure. Is that a change to the first whereas clause? For retail, it's Class C restaurant license?
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah. That's correct.
Okay. I know you had some changes to item 12, public space. You specifically talked about addressing the concerns of the ANC and also protecting the applicant. Could you just give us a little bit more understanding of the motivation behind wanting to change? As you know, we have some template language that we've used in our agreements through there, and so
Sure.
could you just walk us through that one?
All right. Let me pull out. And I think what I essentially did was just kind of combine. I think it was in 3 different paragraphs, and I really just combined them together. I thought it was better in terms of it was more concise for us in terms of understanding. If there's anything that you wanted to change, I mean, I think really what we did change are things where it said that we would take reasonable measures in order to get to accomplish certain things, so that, for instance, if the garbage can is open because of an animal that's in there, or if somebody comes and opens up the garbage can, that we're not necessarily going to be held accountable, and that we are taking reasonable measures. I mean, we'll have employees come out there and do whatever we need to do. I would say that's the majority of what I've changed. If there's anything specific that you would want to discuss, happy to review that. Just trying to pull out with the original.
So they're combined in what, in number 12?
Here we go. Yeah, so number 12. No, I'm sorry, you were saying 14, right? 14, 15, 16, and 17? Yeah.
It's 12, 13,
I'm looking at a red line copy from yesterday, and there's a note on
Right,
specifically on
and
the
so,
IS, yeah.
and that's what, and I'm looking both at, so the banana leaf, the public space provisions would be in 14 to 17.
Okay, I need to
And then
pull
in
that up.
ours, it's section 12, 13, and 14.
15.
And 15, correct. Like, I don't think that there's been any significant differences. I just think it's sort of we combined a couple of the paragraphs. I think, for instance, 15 says Civil Infractions Act, Litter Control Administration Act. I mean, when employees are looking at this, they don't know what that is, they don't know what that means, but I've kind of spelled out in what I've replaced it with to say that trash will be picked up and things will be done, just spelling out what's going to be done, what the applicant's responsibility is.
Okay. Okay, those are my basic questions. Do you guys have anything?
You raised an issue about, Banana Leaf had a section about that there should be somebody on the premises at all times. Is that important?
It is. It's required by the DCR. It's required by ABRA actually already, and that goes back to the double jeopardy issue we were discussing earlier.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure you were comfortable with that.
Okay. Okay, I think we're good on questions. I think, so we can have some discussions amongst ourselves and just kind of go from there, and then kind of move this to a vote. But unless we have any other questions, you guys can move in and sit down.
Sure, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I think my only, I guess, comment
Mhm.
is at this point, and I don't know what your resolution will be, but I'm assuming it's going to be that a commissioner will then be in charge moving forward, and we continue negotiations to enter an agreement.
Basically, what we would just do is we're going to vote on this
Okay.
settlement agreement right now, and I hope
Okay,
to give
got
you
it.
something to walk away with tonight, and so you guys can move forward. I mean, we'll have other stuff like you mentioned, the
Sure.
public space and things like that. But I think that just some items we want to cover in here. And actually, while you're here, are there questions from the community on anything? Okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
just chat about it.
Thank you very much.
So I guess my question is, how we're striking a bit of our own internal language. There were some things that we had in there. I feel like there were some reasons for it. The striking reference to the Civil Infractions Act and the Litter Control Administration Act. I understand that employees don't know what it means, but it's also something we ask management to sort of educate their employees on. And those are acts that can change. So by spelling out the specifics, if those acts are changed by city government, we're kind of opening it up to, not to have our compliance with them. So if we're comfortable with that, I'm okay with it. I'm just kind of bringing that up with the four of us gathered here.
I mean, Bill and I talked a little bit about this when we were working on our settlement agreements, and I, as a general matter, have concluded that I'm okay with excluding content that is already required under the law because we don't need it in there. We already can take action and file a complaint if that were to happen, right? So I'm personally comfortable with it.
Okay.
Are you okay with it? You have a lot of restaurants, so.
Yeah. I haven't done a lot of things in mine, so it's the only.
Yeah, I have no problem with this.
Okay.
For complaints under the law. The main issues that come up in the neighborhood related to the restaurants are related to the noise. And, whatever back door is going to be happening when music is on, if it percolates its way into the neighborhood, things like that. But I'm okay with the language related to that.
Okay.
Here.
So am I.
You okay?
I don't have
Okay.
the experience you have.
So then, what I'm saying is I don't have a lot of experience with these myself. So that's why I was referring to our settlement agreements
They
up
do.
here, our expert settlement agreement experts.
Yeah.
So in that case, there was one amendment to the settlement agreement. It was changing the first whereas clause to read as follows. Whereas pending before the District of Columbia Alcoholic Beverage Control ABC Board is applicant's application for a retailer's Class C liquor license.
That's D, right?
No, I
No,
see.
that's what-
Retailer's Class C restaurant
Class C.
license.
Yeah,
is what
Class C
we're changing
restaurant.
to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you make a resolution, may I really quick? I don't think that we discussed this, but I just wanted to also request, right now we're in placard period, and I don't know what your position is, but we would also like to request a stipulated license and ANC support for that in the event that the applicant did want to get started and open as quickly as possible.
What is your timeline for opening? Like, what would
They
be,
said September.
realistically speaking, the soonest you would want to open it?
Yeah, I believe she said September, but if we get approval now, and it could be sooner.
When is the hearing with, related to the liquor license?
Well, we have a 45-day placard period, so that ends August 9th, I believe.
Okay.
So August 6th. But if we get approval from the ANC, if the applicant wanted to, within that 45-day period, could potentially get the ABC license and start operation sooner. And then if somebody from the community ends up protesting, that sort of halts us. But at this point in time, we would have ANC approval to move forward if we wanted to.
So let me just tell you why I'm uncomfortable.
Sure.
We talked about potentially, coming back and discussing the use of public space and things like that. We don't meet in August. Our next meeting's in September, and I kind of would like to have a, if oversight is necessary, coming with it, and so.
We can't use public space though until that part is already taken care of. So the approval would only be on what we're allowed to do, which would, until we have the permit in hand, that wouldn't be part of it. It would just be the interior space.
So you're asking us to support getting a temporary, what are you asking us to support
Right.
here?
So a stipulated license would be like within the so we have a 45-day period, right, of when the placards are up. If the ANC supports the application, we can essentially get a liquor license while we have our placards posted, unless somebody from the community protests, at which point it'll stop. So
We did one of these in 2016 for an internet only. When First Vine came to us, we did a letter of approval for stipulated license.
I will say Abra looks at these routinely, and they're routinely done, and I don't believe that this applicant will, I mean, if she decides to open early, I don't believe that there will be any issues. Has every intention to follow the settlement agreement at hand. So I will leave
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all right.
I like the idea of leaving that placard time for people in the neighborhood to raise objections if they need to. We know that we have vocal constituents.
Well, you still have to leave the
What did
language
she
up
say? I didn't
during
hear.
the whole time. They just are, they're given like a conditional approval
She's
to
not in favor of
operate. The
shortening
placards have to remain up with the like same.
She's not in favor of the short.
But they're asking basically for permission to get a liquor
Well, she
license
has experience, so.
before that. So that's all.
I mean, let's play devil's advocate though.
I
If
could be-
people come there and if they see it and they have a problem because they don't have a problem. I feel like people are there as opposed to walking by and seeing a sign and saying, "Oh, I have a problem now." And so, we want to put this in good faith that they can run it.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm okay. So then we want to add something to the end of the, we have to do something in addition to the essay then.
We would want to add it to the cover letter. We would basically, the cover letter would
Yeah.
basically include, in addition to our standard cover letter, here is our settlement agreement, we would include.
To Abra.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would include, like, I have this language from the one we did for First Vine, and it basically says that we voted this number
Okay.
to adopt, I guess we did a resolution, so we would just do, like, I can pull the resolution in support of granting a stipulated license. Pull it up.
Okay.
Is there any feedback from the community opposed to granting this applicant a stipulated license?
That's just the inside.
Just for the inside, well, it would be just for the inside until public space was approved. I guess theoretically, public space could be approved during the placard period. But I don't think that's very likely. It would just be on the inside, and residents would still have the ability to file a petition. And so what you're telling me is if one person says, I have an issue with this stipulated license is revoked?
If they file with Abra.
Mm-hmm. No,
Before August 6th.
6.
Okay.
It's okay with me.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to pass the settlement agreement as amended, and add a section about a stipulated license to the cover letter?
So what I would say is that we want to pass a resolution, and this is a chance for us to insert any concerns we may have or want to attach to this support, right?
Okay.
So, I have language from the First Vine resolution, so I would
Do we have to
propose that
make
we
this
just modify it.
Can Shirley make the motion?
Sure. So I'm gonna, it's 8:47, we actually took this up at 8:26. I'm gonna make a motion to extend debate on this issue for 5 more minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're gonna go to 8:53 on this. Okay, and so we're gonna draw up a resolution real quick for the stipulated license and
Okay.
express any concerns we might have with that.
So we'll fill in the details, but the beginning would just say, basically, whereas Denoy Hospitality has applied for a new Class C restaurant liquor license, we'll cite the application number for the street address of the restaurant, whereas the applicant has posted the placard, and you have posted the placard, right?
It is, yes.
They're
Yes.
up. They've posted the placard, and we'll add the specific petition and hearing dates on here. whereas the applicant wishes to start selling alcohol before the hearing date, for which it needs a stipulated license. Then we will add any additional concerns. So in the case of First Vine, we said whereas the applicant has expressed an intent to use off-street parking for drop-off and retrieving wine and to maintain the establishment in a manner that has minimal impact on vehicular and pedestrian traffic. So that was the concern there. I don't think it's necessarily what we would say here, but that's where we would insert any concerns you have, and then we would just say, be it resolved that ANC3F supports the applicant's request for a stipulated license, and that would be it.
Do we have specific concerns that we should?
That aren't in the essay.
Or that we would want to attach to this stipulated license, or like,
emphasize.
whereas the applicant has, assured us that they intend to do, whatever it is you're worried about.
I have nothing for
Fine.
Okay, so in that case, we would do what I just described, filling in some of the details, and basically delete that, add in the details, and it'll be a very straightforward resolution. So, in that case, which one do you want to do first? You do the vote on the essay and then vote on this, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vote first, what, on the agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I propose a resolution that we agree to this agreement with the changes that were made.
Okay. I second that motion. All in favor? All
Okay.
opposed? All right. The settlement agreement passes unanimously.
Great. And I move that we adopt a resolution in support of a stipulated Class C restaurant license to be submitted.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's good to have you. Okay.
Good luck on your restaurant.
Just fill this.
Sure. So now I'm gonna call up, we're gonna move on to 4214 Lenore.
Excuse me.
Get this done.
You want the,
Jump drive.
oh, the jumper thing for,
Yes.
there it is.
Mhm. David, if you just want to give an introduction of yourself and
Sure.
kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you want, yeah, I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
I'm David Landsman, Cass Engineering. I'm representing the applicant, the Cohens, family with their young daughter, 7-month-old. They're going to move into the house at 4214 for the future house. We're planning to raise the current dwelling and construct a new single-family house in its place. We're here because of our DDOT Public Space Committee application. We'll be taking the existing driveway that's there, lessening the slope and reducing the width almost in half. The current driveway is double wide. New DDOT standards are a 12-foot wide apron, so single wide. And we'll also be replacing the lead walks to access the house to line up with the new front door. We'll also be planting a series of street trees along the back of the sidewalk, or where a sidewalk would go. There's no sidewalk along the north. Flip to the plan, I can point a little bit better reference.
There we go.
Right, so if you want to flip to the next slide. So our future house will go in the same location the current house is. Massing is very similar. It's a by right application for zoning, no zoning relaxation at all. The existing apron, it's kind of hard to see, but it's about twice as wide as the proposed apron. We'll be locating in the same location, but reducing both sides, pinching them in. And if you've driven by, the slope is relatively steep up to the current house. We'll be leveling that out to make it more accessible. We'll also be planting street trees along the back of the curb to fill out the streetscape for DDOT, and moving the lead walk from this location over to further uphill to reduce steps. There's a couple pictures of the existing driveway. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And so tell us about the letters of support. We've got 2 of them, I think? Or
We do.
Okay.
So we've reached out to the neighbors on both sides and the folks across the street. We have a letter of support from the neighbor at this house. This is a vacant lot with a foreign owner or an overseas owner who hasn't responded to inquiries from the start.
Yeah.
My client and some other clients were interested in purchasing that piece of property. Haven't been able to get any responses out of him. The other letter of support that house, directly across from these two.
And those two, you haven't
Haven't responded. I had verbal discussions with them, but don't have anything in writing to pass
Okay,
off.
cool.
No objections raised that I know of.
Okay, so looking through some of the comments, really, I noticed most agencies didn't have any issues with it, except urban forestry.
Right.
And could you just talk a little bit about
Sure.
how you're responding to the concerns there? Right?
So urban forestry has asked for a couple things in particular. One is for us to finish our tree removal permits for the subject property. We're limited because of the overlay with how many trees we can take out. They just want us to complete the permit process because it's separate for those trees. It's not part of this same driveway permit. It's a separate tree removal permit.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of their comments. The other was to provide a tree preservation plan with specific checkpoints for when our arborist is going to be on site. We've started talking to them about that. We've had them look at it. Our arborist has been on site numerous times. We're just formatting it at this point. And what DDOT's looking for now, with their new heritage tree and kind of ramped up urban forestry on these projects, is a maintenance plan going forward. So commitment for tree preservation, moving forward. So that'll be kind of contained in this report. Just the main thing, specific points when the arborist is supposed to be on site. So an initial sample of a pre-construction meeting, when the silt fence and perimeter controls are going in, certain times when trees tend to get damaged and people aren't keeping a close look. So that's what most of their comments. Just getting that document into TOPS for them to look at.
I just wanted to flag that you were just making a mention on that.
Yeah, it's Evans District, so we'll be working with Evan.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit about the materials being used both on the lead walk and the new driveway?
So the new driveway will likely be a concrete through that section. It's still a little steep to get up to the driveway area. If you can flip back the slide. So right now the slope basically goes up to the garage door. We're going to still hold the slope for the public space portion and level off as we get up. So the materials will be similar, an impervious asphalt or concrete. And then the actual meat of the driveway, where we have a similar setup where the garage door is located back there. It's turned, so it's a side load. That'll be pervious pavement, likely a paver.
Great.
Due to the slope, we're not going to do the pervious paver down into public space.
That makes sense. Questions?
No.
Commissioners, did you have questions? Okay. I'd like to make a motion, and basically, the motion would just to be submit that ANC3F will submit a comment in favor of this public space application, so long as the UFA's comments are responded to, and any change in the use of permeable materials is just flagged and notified with us. Just subject to
To be
those.
clear, the pervious is the private property portion, so it won't be part of this
Oh, okay.
application. It's the
I'm sorry,
by
you
the time
did
we
say that.
level off, we are committed to it. Our documents for zoning
Mhm.
depict it all, but it won't be part of
Oh,
this
part of the
approval or
approval.
linked to this.
Well, then I guess I have nothing to
So
say about
just
that.
not that we're any less committed, but
Sure.
just to be clear.
Well, I appreciate your commitment.
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Congrats.
Thank
We'll
you.
put that in the tops.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Moving on.
What's next?
Right. And we have some signage. I'll give just a basic introduction to that, and if you guys want to come down and just talk a little bit about it. Actually, Damon, why don't you just go for it, and you can kind of just tell everybody why you're looking for the change in the sign. I'll pull up the presentation. We'll kind of go from there.
Absolutely. I just want to thank you all for allowing me to present the project. The Edmundburg School is going to be celebrating its 50th year this next school year, and we've spent many of those 50 in this neighborhood, and so we're really excited about what we're going to be able to do next year through this project. What we're proposing is the replacement of 2 existing signs on our campus with signs that we believe are going to be more complementary, to the aesthetics of our campus. And so to present the project, I have 2 colleagues here with me, Julie Saunders, who's the designer, and then our Director of Communications and Marketing, Allison Moreau, to answer any questions you might have, but I'm going to let Julie present the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who was that? Who was that?
Hi, so I'm Julie Saunders with Neon 5, and I'm the signage designer for the project. And I'm going to guide you through the slides here. I think that's a little further.
Sorry, it's on autoplay.
It's okay.
So just tell me.
So this first slide, if you're not familiar with the location of the school, it's just a little further down Connecticut
so pretty close to where we are now, at the corner with Upton Street. It's across the street from the former Intelsat building, 4000 Connecticut Avenue. And we'd like to put a sign right at the corner there where the red marker is shown. Oh, yeah, it's okay. And that is in front of the entrance to the building. You can see the two sets of stairs. I'm referring to the site plan on the right. And those stairs go up to the entrance of the school. So the sign will be visible when you're going northbound on Connecticut Avenue, but when you're coming southbound, you won't see it too well due to landscaping and a brick wall. Next slide, please. That's just the plat for reference. So this sign is technically located in public space. So we're going through the Public Space Committee review and approval process as well. Next slide. So these are photos of the existing conditions. So you can see the corner there, that's one of the existing signs. It's very temporary in nature, kind of a typical post and panel sign, and Burke is really seeking to put something a little more attractive there, more permanent, and something that ties into the architecture of the building. Next slide. So this is a close-up of that corner. Upton Street goes back on the right, and then Connecticut Avenue would be on the left there. And so the new sign would be right in the same location as the existing sign. It'll fit nicely into the landscaping. There's no mature trees that would be disturbed. And then those are just two ornamental crepe myrtles, and so we're hoping to slip the new sign just right in there. And the new sign will be lower than the existing sign. It'll actually sit a little below the brick wall beyond, so it won't affect visibility along the street. Next slide. That's another view when you're going up Upton Street towards Connecticut. So there's a stop sign there, but again, no conflicts with visibility between that and the proposed sign. And next slide. This is showing the corner. The sign would be on the left, and then on the right side is the closest adjacent property. That is a residential building, and it's a house, I believe, split up into units. And we're working on contacting the owner and the residents there. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, obviously, I've been there about 4 times, trying to contact the residents there, and it's big.
Yeah, I've dealt with them on snow removal in the past. It's a hurdle sometimes.
Yeah, so we're working on it. The building, the adjacent building is set back a ways from the edge of Upton Street as well.
But I do want to flag that those hedges have been removed, so there's an increased line of sight to the other side as well.
Yep, still working on that. Okay, so this is a detailed plan view, and then you can see different existing elements at the site, and then the new sign is in the middle there. That's red and gray, that linear bar there. So it's fitting in between those crepe myrtles. Again, no conflicts with existing trees, and the sign is set back from the intersection about 20 feet or so. And then again, it's in public space. There's a WMATA right-of-way line. That's the orange line, dashed line on the left. No conflicts with that either. So this is the new proposed sign, so more contemporary to tie into the architecture of the building. The Burke logo has different letters that use different fonts, and it represents the diversity and inclusion of the school that's in the mission statement as well. And so we decided to make it a sculptural element for the sign. So the letters are individual 3-dimensional letters. They're about 6 inches deep, and they would sit on a nice clean base, silver base with a reveal at the bottom. The sign is painted aluminum, so it'll be quite sturdy. And then smaller letters below Edmund Burke School would be acrylic with gray painted faces. Okay. So side view on the left, 3-dimensional view on the right. So there would be silver backplates behind the letters.
and the individual letters would be illuminated. They would be internally illuminated, and the light would shine and hit those silver back plates and create a really nice soft glow around the letters. Okay, next slide.
Sorry, a little trouble here.
Those lights go on and off? Or it'll be on all the time?
They would be controlled. I imagine they would be on at night. Yeah, on a timer, and they would actually they would also be dimmable. So there would be control over the illumination level. We were talking about making it, a very soft light. Nothing too bright. Something that's appropriate for the school that will be visible and guide people, but not too obtrusive.
Sorry about that.
I can keep talking a little bit too. So the smaller letters that you notice below the Edmund Burke School letters, those would be illuminated as well, just along the sides. So it would be very similar, just soft light along the edges of the letters.
I'm sorry, I was getting that working. So yeah, how bright are they?
Soft. I don't have an exact foot candle number, but we're definitely going for a soft look, and it would just be the edges of the letters. There's kind of two major ways to light a sign from the inside. There's face lit, where the light is kind of directly coming out, and then backlit, and these would be the more subtle backlit look, and then they would also be dimmable. So if there were any complaints from neighbors, that would be able to be controlled.
Okay. The existing signs are not currently lit. Correct. Okay.
And this is all night long?
Yeah, we set time.
Whenever it's dark?
Yes.
Would you be open to turning them off at, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to be more specific, or just is there a time specifically you want to ask about?
I think if people complain,
Okay, just on
we
complaints.
should have the. Yeah.
What's across the street? Is it an apartment house?
Across the street is the Intelsat building, and that.
Across,
the
yeah,
Across
what
Connecticut,
across up?
Upton
Oh,
is
across
this
Upton
place
is
that they can't.
that house that was. I'm gonna go back
I
real
didn't
quick
see it.
just to show.
It looked like there was a yard there.
Yeah, there's a house. You can sort of see it in this. It's on the right-hand side.
Does the entrance face the school?
There's a.
There's several.
There.
It's 35 Connecticut. There's an entrance on Connecticut, and then there are two entrances.
On Upton.
There's a basement entrance and one that's a kitchen entrance. People are coming in and out of all those. When you see them, they're coming out of any one of those rooms.
And the sign would be angled, so it won't be directly facing the property again.
It'd be
towards
somewhat
Upton
similar to
Street.
the existing angle.
Yes,
Okay.
similar to that. Yeah,
Yeah,
more
there was-
facing towards.
There was a rendition in one of them of the new sign in its place. There.
I would also point out that often the lights are on
Within the building, yeah.
streetlights during the night, so all that glass that's above the sign is usually lit. Like if you drive up, you can see the stairwell of the building all night long. And I don't think we've had any complaints.
Okay.
Okay. And the neighbors haven't complained?
And there's a street light right there, and it sounds like this will be less bright than
Yes,
the
that's
street
right,
light,
the
so
street light,
it wouldn't like substantially add to the lighting on the corner. It sounds
Right.
like. It looks very
We'll
nice, by the
We're gonna
way.
add that comment.
The new sign, yeah.
Yeah, it is a beautiful sign.
It's
Did
gonna
you,
jazz
did you have
things
more?
up.
Yeah.
Did you have more? Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep going. Okay, so yeah, this is a rendering of the illumination. So again, edgelit letters. Okay, next slide. So Gelberg is doing the fabrication and installation for the sign. Next slide. Shop drawing, more details there, stuff you've already seen. Go to the next slide. So there will be a concrete footing, so it'll be very secure and stable, and the aluminum sign will be attached with anchor bolts to that concrete footing. Okay, and then there's another sign in the package. It does not require public space committee approval, but we thought we would include it and share it with the community as it's part of the package. Next slide. So this sign would be marking the entrance to the garage. Right now it's set back. It's off of Connecticut Avenue, and it's in the upper left-hand corner. It is kind of tricky for people to see and identify that that is the entrance to the garage. So we'd like to put a sign at the wall adjacent to the opening there. Next slide. So this is a rendering showing the sign. So it would be individual silver letters mounted directly to the brick wall. The silver of the letters would match the architecture of the building. It'll be more integrated with the building. And that post and panel sign that you can see in the image on the left, that post and panel sign would be removed as well.
There's nothing there now, is there?
Just that post and panel sign in the photograph, yeah.
The white one.
Oh, I see
Blue
the
one
white
right there.
sign that's
That would be go away.
on the grass,
You
right.
removed that.
This is just showing placement on the drawing. The letters would be silver. That's just for contrast there. Go to the next slide. The upper letters, the larger Burke letters, would be internally illuminated, so in a similar fashion to the sign at the corner, a really soft light, backlit letters, so just the edges of those letters would glow against that brick wall. And the smaller letters at the bottom, those are quite small, and so we would not illuminate those. It would just be the top letters. And that's just a section showing the letters pin mounted to the wall. And that's it.
Cool. So real quick on the sign, it's mostly going to be fabricated out of aluminum, I think you said?
Correct.
Does that require any maintenance or anything going forward?
Not much. It's pretty standard, durable method of fabrication, and the paint is Matthews paint. It's really tough paint. Yeah.
That's a good question.
Any questions?
No, I just have a historical note. That first sign is going to be where I used to sit in a dentist chair. That building on the corner, before Burke expanded there, was a home of a dentist. And I went there for about 10 years before he had to sell the building to Burke. So I have very unpleasant memories of that of that location.
Maybe the sign will
The
make it better.
sign will make it happier.
All the calming soft light.
Yes, yes.
Commissioner Millard? Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Okay. I'm going to make a motion to support this public space. I just also want to note, just in checking with other reviewers from the city, there were, as of last night, there were no objections. I didn't see anything on your TOPS application that any city agencies had an issue with. I don't know. If we need to
Okay,
change.
I haven't seen.
Okay,
the
okay. So it's looking good. I am just, because your offer, if the lighting does become an issue, what we're gonna do is just basically pass a motion in support of this, provided, responsiveness with the community should there be complaints about the elimination of the letters, so, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Siddiq, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations. It looks awesome. Yeah,
Thank
thank you. All right, moving forward, our next item is actually the Q2 financial report approval, which I think we're gonna move that a couple spaces back and just talk about.
Do Washingtonia first,
You want to do Washingtonia first?
and then WMATA?
Okay, so we're going to swap the Washingtonia. Actually, we're going to just move the financial report after the WMATA's proposed changes to the L1-2 lines. We're going to talk about the Washingtonia collections temporary move to 4340 Connecticut Avenue. We're allotting 5 minutes for that, and I have 9:13. So last month we received a visit from the DC Department of Public Libraries. They have their Washingtonia collection, which is currently housed at the museum, and they've asked, or that they are planning to put it into the space at 4340 Connecticut, which is UDC's law library is right now. We had a few. We had a good visit with Director Reyes from from DCPL, but we do have a few concerns of our own. Since then, specifically the hours for the public library came out, and I think a lot of us up here at this table were a bit disappointed in what we thought there'd be a greater activity and engagement along the lines. Currently, the exhibit is scheduled to be closed to the public every Monday, open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 7, Wednesdays and Fridays 9:30 to 5:30, and the first and third Saturday of the month from 9:30 to 5:30. On top of that, they'll have walk-in hours only available between 2 and 4 p.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We're a little disappointed that the initial amount of activation is not really what we kind of felt was the liveliness that was promised to us, last month. So we have a resolution to take a look at that. There's also an issue of this area being a prime space for potential retail activity within the community, and it had been identified as one of the 3 specific targets within the addresses within the community to see greater retail use. And so one of the things we're asking DGS to do, since they handle the leasing for DCPL, is to basically have a meeting with us to talk about the retail study that was done in February, and to notify us in advance if this area, 4250, 4340, and 4225, if they're being considered the ground level space on them for future city use. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to read the operative clauses from the resolution, and then we're going to open it up to commissioner discussion, and then if there's any comments from the community. But so therefore be resolved that ANC3F congratulates DCPL's temporary move of the Washingtonia collection to our community. And be it further resolved that ANC3F expresses its appreciation for DCPL's offer to work with the community to ensure the accessibility of the collection, and recommends DCPL meet with representatives of ANC3F, Van Ness Main Street, and other members of the community to discuss and plan engagement opportunities for this space as soon as possible. Be it further resolved that ANC3F takes note of the limited evening and weekend hours currently planned for the space, expresses its hope that those hours are revised and expanded, and encourages DCPL to consider alternative scheduling options that ensure the space is activated every Saturday. So for instance, instead of closing every other Saturday, consider closing maybe every other Wednesday, and ensuring that the time when we have, people from the community active at the farmers market and everything else along that stretch of lane to have the collection open. We can come back to it too. Be it further resolved that ANC3F requests DCPL clearly publicize the need for appointments to access the collection, both in its marketing materials for the collection and its signage at the front of the property. And be it further resolved that ANC3F further requests an update from DCPL on or before its October 16, 2018 meeting regarding the use of the appointment system and whether staff hours can be reallocated toward increasing the collection's allotment of walk-in hours. So basically, we're asking them to let us know if their staff time is being used up by appointments, or if they might have the ability to move some of those hours that they're reserving for appointments to greater walk-in hours based upon the capacity of their staff. Be it further resolved that ANC3F requests a meeting with DGS to discuss the results of the February 2018 Van Ness Retail Strategy Study, and further request notification from DGS from DGS if and when it is considering the ground level space at 4250, 4340, and 42 and or 4225 Connecticut for the city's use. Be it further resolved that Commissioner Chakachik is authorized to speak on behalf of the ANC3F regarding this matter. Did you have anything?
No, it got covered in the second one.
Okay.
This is just sort of, we're asking them to do stuff. They have no obligation, there's no permit, there's no permissions that they need or support.
No,
from
we
us
didn't really
about
have any oversight of this from the beginning. It was basically saying, hey, we're going to extend the library's current lease here, and things like that.
Yeah, the language in the second one is more, I think, what we talked about, related to if they find that their hours aren't being used up with appointments, to please open it to walk-in. Because that was the big thing, just a couple hours here and there for walk-in.
Yeah.
Just kind of seemed
Can
odd.
can I have a clarification here? These hours that they're going to be open are basically for appointments.
Mhm.
And it's only walk-ins, people can go in there only for these 2 hours.
2 to 4.
2 to 4. I mean,
Tuesday
right now,
through
Saturday
Friday.
is not one of the days that they're going to have
Correct.
people walk in. So they're going to be busy the whole rest of the time with these appointments.
That's
If-
what we're asking them to let us know
Right.
if that turns out the case. You know, they know how to manage their collection better than we do. We're just trying to do everything we can to make sure that the space is activated for our community.
I was speaking with the librarian at Cleveland Park, and she was pretty certain that they're not ever going to be able to have more staff there. That the 2 staff, you know, it's going to be very limited staff, and she, I mean, who knows, but she'd be very surprised if they, you know, that they're kind of
I don't know.
pinched for staff
Yeah.
now as it is, and so they're, you know, it's unlikely that they will ever have more staff. There could be more hours that become open,
Yeah,
you know, if they don't get appointments.
I can't really speak to the amount of staff that they can get or might have increased. All we're asking is that whatever they're allotting for staff right now, if they think they could give, they
Okay.
could allot them to you know, an
To-
extra
to
hour
spend
of,
more,
of
right,
walk-in
with
as
the
opposed to the
walk-ins.
appointment only stuff. I do notice something I neglected to include in here, so I'd like to make an amendment, provided it's all right with my colleagues. We had been told at the meeting by Director Reyes Gavion that they would be out by July 2019.
Right.
Yes.
I think we need to put that in as a, you know basically, we can add it, you know, the very last one, be it further resolved that ANC3F.
Isn't that in one of
That's
the
in
whereas
the whereas.
clauses?
Was it?
It's
Yeah,
in a
it's in a
whereas
whereas.
here.
I know it's in a whereas.
But
that-
it's not
that they
in
said
a-
it, but I
Okay.
think we should resolve to.
Okay.
Okay.
Be it further resolved that ANC3F encourages. I don't, or do we want to use a stronger? word
Encourages
than
it. That's going to depend on if they can move to the new building, into the.
He said,
No, he
they
actually-
said very
yeah.
explicitly
You mean they
that
would
if
find another
MLK
place
isn't
for it?
open,
the
they're
new
gonna
building is not going
temporarily
to be
house it.
ready for
Ready
them
by then.
anyway.
They're
so
gonna
that
have to
they
find
are
another
planning on
place.
boxing everything up as is.
And moving it to another place if
Yeah,
necessary.
well, in with the idea of expanding it once the renovations at the MLK library are done. So they know they're planning on doing that. He did say, and if there is interest in the community, you know, in keeping it here, I suppose we could be open to it. But I think really
Okay.
that they have, you know, they have a specific timeline. I think we should ask them to it.
Okay.
And I think the quicker, you know, we can really truly maximize the potential of this space, the better for it. So, be it further resolved that ANC3F strongly encourages DCPL to maintain its announced timeline for this space and plans to exit it in July 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got 2 corrections to this.
Please.
One is I assume that the date in the third from the last
Yes, I
resolution
caught
is
that as I was
2008.
going, yes.
But
Thank you.
the other one is, the name of the collection is Washingtoniana.
Washingtoniana.
So it's not Washingtonia. So
That's a,
wherever it appears, just add an NA.
that's in there a few times, so do you
It's there about,
find and replace.
it's there about 4 times.
That's wrong in the minutes too.
That's what I was using for this. Okay. I'm going to accept all those as friendly amendments. Is there comments from the crowd, the audience? Please.
Yes.
Good evening. Eric Thompson. I'm the Vice President for Capital Assets and Real Estate Services for the University District of Columbia. Just a point of clarification, the existing lease agreement with DCPL gives them a 9-month extension from where they are now, which would have been July. So their current lease doesn't actually extend them all the way till next July.
So that, could you clarify?
So the current lease they have was scheduled to end in July of this year with a 9-month extension.
To
So-
April of next year.
Yes, and I just wanted to
So they don't have an
add that.
extension past April of next year?
Not currently.
Okay.
And it's a small point, but I just wanted to offer.
No, I
for-
appreciate
for
that. No,
clarity.
that's good to know on our end. So.
What's the real estate company that you're?
No, UDC
I'm
owns
the vice president for capital assets at the university.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything to change, guys? Any comments? Okay, I'm going to make a motion to pass this resolution as amended. Second from Commissioner Adelstein. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm
All
raising my
opposed?
hand.
Oh, that was your voice proxy?
Yes.
Okay. It passes 4-0-0. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now we're going to talk about WMATA's proposed changes to the L1, L2 bus lines. So we had a visit, and I'm sorry, we've got 9:24. We've got 10 minutes for that, and I think we're going to be pretty straightforward on this. We received a visit last month from WMATA, and Christine Marsh went over these changes pretty in depth with us. After that, the day afterwards, there was an open house. You know, where things stand right now is some of the proposals that had caused a great deal of consternation in our community have largely been reworked. The merger, so to speak, of the L1 and 2 lines has been taken off the table. The weekend service of the L2, terminating at Woodley Park, has been taken off the line, off the table. And so right now, the biggest issues in our neighborhood have been the consolidation of bus stops. And on the slides going over at the open house, and this, I think the slides are available on our website, kind of show where within the community those are planned. And so I don't know if you want to go over the plan and kind of explain it, but as what was gone for me, it was a few different things that these routes specifically were having in issues were, and that was on-time performance, headway separation, and bus stop spacing. And so those are the three sort of lagging indicators for the L1s and L2s bus lines in our communities. We have a resolution, and it was sort of, I'm not going to go through each one of those. It's available on our website, but I think specifically we want to talk about adding potentially another operative clause at the end, dealing with one of the stops of consolidation, if not more. And I don't know if you want to talk about that. Actually, before we do that, I want to flag one other issue that we have, and that is the consolidation of the Chesapeake Street spot. It's proposed that it gets consolidated into the Cumberland and Brandywine stops. We've been working with DDOT for a while on some issues related to pedestrian safety and relocating the bus stops at control signals. And so what we've done, and I know WMATA and DDOT have spoken afterwards about this, but we're just sort of asking them to, and I'm going to read these actually, but to instead of consolidating the current Chesapeake Street Northwest stop into the Cumberland Street Northwest and Brandywine Street Northwest stops, urging WMATA to consolidate the southbound Cumberland Street Northwest stop into a new stop at Davenport Avenue in accordance with DDOT's established controlled sidewalk plans.
Didn't we pass a resolution with DDOT to do that?
We passed that a while ago.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't pass it with WMATA. This
Right,
is
we passed
WMATA's
it with
plan.
DDOT, yes.
And so we're also asking that WMATA ensure that any changes to the L1 and L2 routes are compatible with DDOT's Upper Connecticut Avenue Crosswalk Safety and Access project. So that was one of the specific consolidation concerns that was brought up with us. I think Yuma Street was another one. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah. After I got your memo last, Friday or Saturday, I sent out a memo on my mailing list to my in my district, asking their opinion on the removal or the consolidation where they removed the Yuma Street stop. I got 11 responses, which I thought was pretty good because my list is only about 200 people, and of course not everybody uses it or lives near there. I got 11 responses. Nine of them were do not take away the stop, and they gave various reasons, such as their children use it to go to school. Two of the people said it was all right with them, and I happen to know those two people, and they don't use the bus. So I don't really take their opinion into consideration. Now there are other people, of course, not in my district who use the stop in District 4, which is not represented right now, and District 1, and I'm not aware that David has the other side of Yuma Street is in his district. My side is the north side. His is on the south side of Yuma, on that block. I don't know if he's received any opinions. But there's also a social justice issue from my point of view. Half a block from this stop is the Yuma Gardens apartment complex. And to my knowledge, this complex is the only one, or one of the very few apartment complexes in our ANC that has lower income people. And most of these people do not have cars. There are many ethnic minorities. There are a lot of senior citizens who have trouble walking, and they for the most part use the bus, especially during the day to go shopping. It's going to be an inconvenience for them to walk up to Albemarle Street is uphill, and it's a long 2 or 3 block walk down to the to the metro stop where the next bus stop would be. The figures, I think, are a little misleading because a number of people have told me that during the height of rush hour, the bus sometimes doesn't even stop at that stop because there are so many people who get on further up Connecticut Avenue to go to the metro that by the time it gets to Yuma Street, they can't get on the bus. So that there are probably more people who use that than appeared in their survey. I'm also very skeptical about this business about, well, it's going to make the buses run on time more. I mean, I'm not sure where this comes from, because is there a schedule now that, buses are supposed to arrive at a certain time, and if they're not arriving on the time, why not? I don't think it's because there are too many bus stops. It might be for other reasons, such as too much traffic. So, I mean, so even if they do away with these stops, maybe I'm a cynic, but I don't think it's going to improve. It isn't guaranteed that it's going to assume that the bus is going to arrive any earlier or on time than it does now. For all those reasons, I strongly recommend that we continue to have that stop. I did get a comment from a man who came earlier who had to leave, and he wanted me to read his statement, and this is just one out of the 11, and he says in big letters, "Please do not assume this cut will not impose any difficulty, because it is a tremendous inconvenience. It was bad enough when they took away the northbound Yuma Street bus stop for the restaurant in the Park Van Ness building. I started purchasing less items while out shopping because of the extra blocks I have to walk. I skipped the jug of cider I went to buy at DuPont Circle Farmers Market. Now another attack upon me. I take it personally. If I have to walk to the metro to get the bus, I might as well go down the platform and see if a train comes. Meanwhile, I would rather take the bus." So that's just one comment, but maybe they weren't all as articulate as them, but that seemed to be the general consensus of retaining that stop.
And we also got some emails as a commission from constituents who addressed this as a whole, all of which specifically focused on the Yuma stop.
Including some people who don't live in our district,
so
who like
that
who live in
adds-
Cleveland
But
Park.
who come up here to shop and take the bus up here to the
And we want to
grocery store.
encourage that,
Yes.
don't we?
I mean, I'm not a transportation expert, so I could imagine that there is some science behind this, that there is an optimal number of stops. You know, I take the bus a lot, so I can tell you having to stop too often really does.
Yeah,
But that
I know what
said,
you mean.
you know, it's important that these decisions be anchored also in the needs of the community. And if there is a particular stop that people really feel is important to them or serves a particular vulnerable constituency, then I think that's worth taking into account. And I would support, you know, weighing in that direction.
There's another point I didn't make, and Yuma Street is one of the few streets that comes down to Connecticut Avenue between Albemarle and Van Ness. There are none of those streets. There are about 4 or 5 streets there. None of them come down, so that it's a funnel street for people who are going to the bus as well as to the metro. They walk down that street, and that just adds, you know, another 2 blocks or so to their walk that they might be coming from the other side of Reno Road. There are a lot of, I live on Yuma Street, so I can tell you that there are lots of people who walk down that street to get down to Connecticut Avenue for some form of transportation. But, so, I've said enough.
Okay. Anything else?
I was concerned actually about the response that we got last week about the coordination with DDOT. We asked directly whether they were coordinating with DDOT, and all of this changing the locations of stops because of pedestrian safety and co-locating it with better marked. And the answer was yes, we're coordinating with DDOT. And then we kind of find out afterwards that whoever it was they were talking with in DDOT, it wasn't George Branyan, who's the one managing this. And so despite being told that the coordination was there, I think we came to find that it kind of wasn't. And I don't know how to reiterate this, that they have to be coordinating with the bit of DDOT that's doing this planning of the moving of the stops.
So to be fair, and Mr. Strauss, if you want to come down and
Mr. Brannon's aware of all this.
yeah, so they've had a
Now he
meeting.
is.
But in
Yeah.
fairness to people who do bus planning, Mr. Brannon maybe should have come over and talked to us too.
Yeah. Steve, would you come down here? Did you have anything more to say maybe about the science of the sort of
Sure.
stops?
My name is Steve Strauss. I work for DDOT in the transit group, and I'm a board 3F at ANC3F president. So yeah, there's a science. I was sitting here listening to all the comments about the bus stops, and I would say, yeah, if you take Mr. Siddig's approach, you will never remove a bus stop because you'll always be able to get 11 people to oppose it. And I think the approach which the transit industry would like to take is more along this Adelstein's line is you set standards on distance and you set standards on use of the stop, and that's how you determine how many bus stops you have on a route. Because, you know, it's no problem to bring in lots of very real stories, and so it's a very tough issue. Bus stop moving is probably about one of the most controversial things you can do in bus planning. So it's tough. I mean, making the buses run faster encourages more people to use them. More people using them results in more service. It's a positive spiral up, I would say. You know, as I get older, I may be more for more stops, but it's a very complex issue. The other science piece is like you talk about how to taking out stops make things faster. If a bus has to stop to pick up passengers and then it just misses the green light, it waits another on Connecticut Avenue, it would be about 25 seconds in rush hour for the side street light, and then it moves on to the next stop, picks up people. Did it make the next green light, or does it have to wait again there? So that's pretty much where the savings go.
Could we talk a little bit about the Yuma Street stop in the scientific context? Because I know specific.
You know, I'd have to go look it up. I'm familiar with it. I know it's in front of the restaurant there.
So
It's.
I have it in the from the boards.
The other one northbound is coming south is on the far side near side of Albemarle, and then, as he said, the next one going south is at the metro stop.
Yeah.
So.
And so they're talking about consolidating it to the Albemarle, or Wilmot is proposing consolidating the Albemarle Street one. According to your boards, they're 672 feet away. How far off that is that from sort of the metric in terms of the distance?
I can send you the next
Okay.
day or two what the spacing distance that so-called ideal is.
Okay.
It's also uphill.
Okay. So I guess one of the things that stuck out to me about the unit, because there's also two other ones. There's one at Tilden and one at Rodman that are proposed to be consolidated into the stop at Sedgwick.
Tilden northbound, right?
I believe it's both.
There's only a northbound.
There's.
The other one at Tilden that has the shelter at the bike station.
Mm-hmm. And so I want to actually come back to that bike station, so the distance between it's not listed for the Tilden Street stops and preps because there's two of them, but I know the Rodman to Sedgwick stop, it's a consolidation of 470 feet, so it's about 50% less than the Yuma Street one, which is at like 670. It also has, I guess, the boarding and is it alighting? I'm not sure what that term means. Is that people getting off? Okay, so it has about it has and I think these are hourly numbers. Yuma Street sees 41 people boarding an hour. Rodman,
It's probably the peak
the
hour.
peak hour. Okay, Rodman sees 10. Tilden sees 22. I think Yuma, there's a case to be made that it's a little bit different from these other two stops, which seem both more closer and less widely used than some of the other consolidation aspects. The question I did have is, if the Tilden Street stop was to be consolidated, what would happen to the bike share?
I would imagine it would stay there.
It would just stay there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did just want to point out, one of the reasons I came today is I asked that you make some changes to the way the wording was on the weekend service, because Rolanda did a really horrible job of explaining what that proposal was.
Okay. I'm going to specifically cover that when I introduce the resolution, but we'll definitely make that change.
One of the other ANCs, someone suggested that the survey was done in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Bus usage is much higher because they're cold in the winter or hot in the summer. So the survey is like that should have left in your comment.
Actually, winter's the lowest bus ridership, the lowest transit time of the year, fewer trips. Spring and fall are generally the highest. Well, summer's pretty high too.
Okay.
That was the point this gentleman made.
I can see the ridership numbers. We'll see the seasonal pattern. I mean, winter's the lowest. December's generally the lowest in DC because everyone leaves town. It's a little different from some other transit cities, but because so many people are not in DC, that December, January, and February are like the lowest ridership. Then probably August.
Can I add that as a resident in the Brandywine, I definitely walk spring, like to the zoo, all the way down Connecticut, and in the summer, I take a bus. Because it's so hot.
So hot, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there other comments? Okay. I'm going to open up this resolution to discussion. First I'm going to cover the operative clauses, and then we're going to talk about Yuma a bit. I'm accepting as a friendly amendment the third operative clause. Shall now read, be it further resolved that ANC3F endorses WMATA's decision to maintain its L2 weekend service, and in consideration of its proposal to terminate 50% of the L2 buses at Woodley Park and increase service north of Woodley Park on weekends. I'm just going to, that was what Mr. Strauss was referring to in terms of what the actual proposal was for the weekend service changes. I've gone over the proposals, and before that, let me just flag for people. We came out in support of WMATA's decisions to maintain the L1's existing access to Foggy Bottom instead of merging it with L2. And then also, because we do recognize that some changes have to be made to improve the metrics that you guys are talking about, but there is somewhat of science in it. The route changes within L1 in terms of moving them off of Massachusetts and Florida make good sense to us. So we're supportive of those. We're also going down a little bit. We say, be it further resolved that ANC3F calls on WMATA to ensure that any changes to the L1 and L2 routes are compatible with DDOT's Upper Connecticut Avenue Crosswalk Safety and Access Project. I mentioned that, but we're just reiterating that coordination between them. Be it further resolved that ANC3F calls on WMATA to closely coordinate any changes to the L1 and L2 routes with DDOT's Planning and Sustainability Division and any other applicable city and regional agencies. And we'll send this to DDOT as well. We know it's a two-way street, to use the parlance of exactly what we're talking about on that. So we also ask, I don't think in terms of doing surveys around there's never going to be a perfect season to capture the best sample for ridership, but we do have a clause that says we strongly recommend that WMATA establish another opportunity for the involvement and feedback of the community in L1, L2 ridership before the final report and recommendations of these route changes is submitted to the Metro Bus State of Good Operations for approval. And be it further resolved that Commissioners Jacopczyk and Allison are authorized to speak on behalf of ANC3F regarding this matter. So Yuma Street.
Yes.
I think we've heard a lot from our constituents. We've heard from people within this room. I think there's a case, and I do think it's distinct from the consolidation of other parts, just based upon the ridership and the distance there. And so, if there's support for adding a clause, objecting or opposing the elimination of the Yuma Street southbound stop, I'd be open to it.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, for the list of reasons that we've talked about, I would put them into the
Okay.
why.
So I'm going to insert that in as the the fourth operative clause after
after about the Cumberland Street thing,
exactly.
Chesapeake Street.
Yeah, I think that's where it makes the most sense.
Yeah. The constituents around there will appreciate that.
Based All right, here's what I would propose as language for that. Be it further resolved that ANC3F opposes WMATA's proposal to eliminate the Yuma Street stop based on its distance to its nearest consolidation stops, levels of ridership, and the burden it would place. And the burden its removal would place on members of the community, both inside and outside of ANC3F.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other comments from the community?
I'd just like to show that 4,101 people responded to the April-May surveys, either online or the paper surveys or an interview survey, either on a bus or at a bus stop.
Okay.
Pretty large number.
Decent sample size, yeah. Thank you, Steve.
They will live near Yuma Street.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to adopt this resolution as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Adelstein.
H2.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passes 4-0-0. Thanks for your time, nice.
Thanks,
We
yeah,
appreciate it.
and I'll send you the stuff on this spacing.
Okay.
Stuff and spacing.
I appreciate it. Okay, so we are on the Q2 financial report approval. Commissioner Adelstein, do you want to take that one?
I don't think there's too much to discuss. I circulated it to the commission. We're a little late on this one because the ANC office has switched to a new system and template for submitting this. They're no longer using the online QRA system, so I have tremendous gratitude for Rachel for the time she spent painstakingly comparing all our records and getting everything straight. So we're all set now, and this report is the last report that is associated with an allotment for this year. So once we submit this report and it gets approved, we'll be on track to have all of our 2018 allotments, which have to be released by September. So that's pretty much it.
Could you just give an overview of the top lines for video?
Yes. Oh, where is it? Oh dear. You might have it.
I did just have it.
Yep. So for Q2 of fiscal year 2018, we received a total of $7,804 that was exclusively interest and district allotments. And we dispersed $3,000.15. That was a combination of personnel costs, communication costs, office supplies, and what we have listed as other charges. So I'll have to see what that is. But our ending balance for that quarter was $96,646.51.
Right. Okay. Is there a motion?
I would like to move to approve the Q2 2018 quarterly report.
Seconded.
Commissioner Milad with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passes unanimously, 4-0-0. June minutes.
So I move that the commission approve the June minutes. I haven't heard any amendments from folks, but the Washingtoniana collection is going to have to get changed, the name. And there were some names missing that I filled in 2 of them, but I'm still missing one of the names.
Which one?
The one from Pepco. There was a gentleman here whose first name was Trayon, whose last name I did not catch. So if somebody could send me that name, then I'll add it to the amended minutes. So based on that, I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So do we want to pull out the reference to him before we get his name and then revisit this at another, or just?
I'm assuming in the next day or so somebody will get me that name.
We're like approving it conditional on filling in the missing name.
Okay.
Yes.
Which I'm comfortable with.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Adelstein, all in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Great. 4-0-0. Any other business?
July treasurer's report.
Okay.
So since our last meeting, which was in June, we received $3.66 that was interest, and we spent $1,489.27. That was on staff wages and taxes and internet services. Our bank balance is $84,252.94. And we're still waiting for 2 district allotments, as I previously described. One has been approved, just not released, and the other one will be approved soon.
Great.
That's it.
Okay. Any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh. We did. We'll talk about that real quick. We removed that. Were you not here at the beginning? We had.
Walked in maybe 5 minutes late.
Oh, okay. Let's adjourn, and then Commissioner Adelstein and I'll talk to you. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0-0. 9:52. Sorry.
Okay.
He said that we would be here, and
sir.
Could you possibly email me these motions?
All right. Thank you for coming. I didn't mean to
Tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I can do that.
That would be great.
I can
The ones
get that
that
to
are
you
not
tomorrow.
printed out.
Sorry, I guess there was some
I have the ones that are printed out.
You mean the resolutions?
The resolutions, yeah. For just the
Well, no, the last email was the email that you
one
sent
on
to the
the
president.
buses and things.
That was printed. It should have been posted.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I knew you were
The
coming.
resolution for the buses, it may have been posted really late. It may be there now.
We don't have. I don't have it.
It may be posted on our website,
Could you
ANC3F.com.
possibly
So I don't
email
have,
me?
I don't have the resolutions. I don't have the text of the resolutions. I can go get them from the website, because that's where it's
Well, that'd be great if you could. And then
So you want me to, do you want me to just give you, I mean,
just email me the resolutions because there were changes.
yeah, I won't have those tomorrow.
What?
I won't have those tomorrow, Davis.
I know. Like,
The text of this, the commissioner who did it and made the amendments is the one that's gonna type out the new one and send it in. I won't have that tomorrow. I won't ever have that, actually.
He's over there, I guess.
Yeah, so the bus one is Pat.
I know.
The Pepco one, I think, is gonna be David. Okay, and
everything else is not so they have, you can't support it.
Yeah, when we were present, we largely agree with us that, you know, we probably don't need to pursue these changes necessarily, especially if they might get people riled up. But we thought we'd continue talking about like, maybe what would need to be done to not necessitate any of these changes. And we thought we could do it pretty easily, if we just have more time to talk about it.
Okay.
And so because of that, we knew neighbors were very concerned about it, and we were worried about prematurely bringing public discussion.
Okay, that's fine. So I would say that, you know, one of the things that I observed was the fact that I guess each commissioner would work in like a particular group on something that they had to do. So I mean, I think that would be great for us.
no, it's Pat's Romano one.
Would be one. One of the things that I wanted to point out with the Yuba bus and sidebar is that that's right in front of a law school.
Yeah.
And a lot of us do it, and I don't know why that wasn't highlighted, because that's That's a great point, yeah. And they take the buses. And that's a lot of students that are coming there, and I don't know why that wasn't like this. I mean, I have comfortable with the kids, with the I don't think I have. Not to go to the whole sidebar, but that bus.
No, that's fair. I guess we're, I think some things need to be done to improve that service. And, you know, we were getting dangerously close and said we wanted to do anything.
Yeah.
Just fix it other places. And I wanted to, but I think Yuma definitely had a good case for not being part of this consolidation plan. I would encourage, you guys can think specifically about that.
I know.
Yeah.
I get all the parking spaces in that building are
Yeah.
still used by students because they catch the bus.
Yeah. And I also said, I mean, parking in the side streets is something we keep talking about, and if we want to, keep cars off there, let's make it easier on them. So I think
a lot of public input event within that very building.
it was.
Oh, was it?
I'm guessing a few people took it. Yeah. Or got back on it to go back down to Connecticut. So that's worth mentioning within the letter. But no, if you provide us some support on that, I think we ought to